Hello, Jared.
Hi, Alicia.
And welcome, listeners, to another deep dive from Vibrations and Manifestations. This deep dive into what we are calling the ease paradox. Why chasing ease creates stress and what actually works.
I love that title.
Thanks. We're stepping into a workshop today. We're going to look under the hood at the actual mechanics of how we move through our lives and why our default strategies for finding relief are, well, biologically backfiring on us.
To set the baseline here, I think we need to speak directly to the underlying desire that you, the person listening to this right now, are carrying around every single day.
Yeah, let's strip it all back.
If we strip away all the complex goals and the 5-year plans, the core desires are incredibly universal. You want more money. You want less stress.
You want more time.
Exactly. You want more time. You want to wake up and not feel an immediate, just suffocating weight on your chest before your feet even touch the floor.
God, I know that feeling so well.
Right. You want to look at your calendar and feel a sense of spaciousness rather than bracing for impact.
I want to pause and put a pin in that, actually, because there is a profound layer of guilt attached to those desires.
Oh, massive guilt.
Somewhere along the line, especially in our modern culture of, hyper-optimization and constant hustle, we've internalized this incredibly toxic idea that wanting an easier life is synonymous with being lazy.
We really have. We think if we aren't suffering, we aren't working.
Right. We think that if we aren't grinding our gears to absolute dust, we somehow lack ambition. But, and I need you to hear this, wanting your life to feel supported is not a character flaw.
Not at all.
It is a biological imperative. Your nervous system is literally designed to seek homeostasis. You are supposed to seek environments where you can thrive without constantly fighting for your basic survival.
That guilt is the very first layer of resistance. We judge ourselves so harshly for wanting the struggle to end. So what do? We overcompensate by creating more struggle just to prove our worth.
Which is wild when you say it out loud.
It is.
Yeah.
But here is the core paradox we are unpacking today. If you look closely at your own experience, you will notice a deeply frustrating phenomenon. The harder we try to aggressively orchestrate ease, the more immense pressure we create in our systems.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second, because my analytical brain immediately pushes back on this.
I welcome the pushback. Go for it.
Okay, so if my house is a mess, my inbox is overflowing, and my finances are totally disorganized, those things are causing me stress, right?
Yes, undoubtedly.
So logic dictates that if I spend all day Sunday frantically organizing the house, color-coding my calendar, and building a massive financial spreadsheet, I am removing the stress.
In theory, yes.
Right. Like I am building a fortress of ease for the week ahead. So how is that creating pressure?
It creates pressure because of the frequency, the biological state you are operating from while you build that fortress.
Ah, the energy behind the action.
Exactly. You are trying to hack your way into peace using the energy of panic.
Wow. Hacking into peace with panic.
Yeah. You are aggressively scheduling your relaxation. You are furiously trying to control every variable so that you never have to feel discomfort. But that hypervigilance, it takes an enormous toll on your body.
It's exhausting.
It really is. By the time Monday morning rolls around, you aren't rested. You are completely, utterly depleted from the sheer effort of trying to anticipate and neutralize every potential problem. You end up more exhausted than if you had just let the week unfold organically.
Okay, that lands. That lands hard. I want to look at the mechanics of this kind of effort because human beings have been wrestling with this exact paradox for a very long time.
Oh, this is not a new problem.
Not at all. It's not just a modern affliction of the smartphone era. To understand the difference between forcing an outcome and designing for ease, I think we have to look back at the history of manufacturing.
I love this example.
Yeah, specifically the environment Henry Ford was looking at before he revolutionized the assembly line.
The pre-assembly line factory floor is just the perfect physical manifestation of how most of us run our lives today.
It really is.
What did that actually look like, practically speaking?
It was absolute chaos. Like before the continuous assembly line, building an automobile was essentially a bespoke, custom project every single time.
Right, like building a house from scratch.
Exactly. You had a chassis sitting stationary in the middle of a massive room. A team of highly skilled workers would just swarm around it. But because the car didn't move, the workers had to.
So they were doing all the running.
They were constantly running across the factory floor to fetch specific parts, tripping over each other, trying to communicate over the deafening noise, adjusting their strategies on the fly.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Right. One guy is trying to bolt on a wheel while another is trying to install the steering column, and they are physically in each other's way.
The cognitive load of that environment must have been staggering. I mean, it wasn't just physical labor. It was a constant, unrelenting barrage of micro decisions and spatial negotiations.
Exactly. It pushed them to the absolute brink of their physical and mental capacities. It was the epitome of what society praises as quote-unquote hard work.
Sweating, stressed, and exhausted.
All of the above. But here's the critical failure of that system.
Yeah.
Despite all that massive heroic effort, it wasn't scalable. And it was the exact opposite of easy.
Right.
If you were a floor manager back then and you wanted to increase production, your only tool was to yell at the workers to run faster, to push harder, to just put more muscle and more hustle into it.
Which is exactly how we manage ourselves.
Yes.
When we feel behind in life, our internal manager just yells at us to wake up earlier, run faster, and work harder. We never question the layout of the factory floor. We just blame ourselves for not moving fast enough around the stationary chassis.
That is so spot on. But Henry Ford didn't do that. He didn't demand more brute force. He didn't ask his workers to double their running speed.
He stepped back.
He looked at the entire structure and realized a fundamental mechanical truth. The system itself was generating the friction. The environment was literally at war with the objective. So he changed the system.
He brought the work to the worker.
Exactly. He brought the work to the workers through the continuous assembly line.
And if we break down the psychology of that shift, it is profound. He removed the need for the worker to navigate the chaos.
He simplified it.
By simplifying the process into repeatable, highly focused steps, he eliminated the decision fatigue entirely. One person stood in one place. All the tools they needed were placed exactly at waist height.
No more running across the room.
None. They did one specific, clean task as the work flowed to them. The environment was finally supporting the human body rather than forcing the human body to contort to the environment.
The numbers speak for themselves, too. Productivity exploded, and the cost of building a car plummeted. But the metric that matters for our conversation today is the human metric.
The stress levels.
Right. The stress on the individual workers decreased dramatically. They were producing exponentially more, but they were working with a fraction of the friction.
Which proves the point.
The ultimate lesson here is that ease did not come from more effort. It didn't come from a sudden burst of motivation or, a 20-hour workday. It came from systemic alignment. It came from removing the internal resistance within the workflow.
If we bring that historical lens down to the micro level of our own daily lives, it is terrifyingly easy to see how often we act like those early factory workers.
Oh, well, I am guilty of this constantly.
We all are. We are constantly running around the chassis of our lives, holding a metaphorical wrench, panicking, sweating, trying to fix a relationship dynamic, while simultaneously trying to optimize our diet and overhaul our career.
And doing it all on a Tuesday afternoon.
Right. And we genuinely believe that the only answer is to just run faster.
I know this because I lived it. I actually want to share a very visceral memory of hitting the absolute breaking point of trying to fix it all, because it perfectly illustrates the biology of this ease paradox.
Please do. I think we need a real-world anchor for this.
So it was a few years ago. I was in this phase where my schedule was packed to the absolute brim. Finances felt tight, not just practically, but they felt emotionally tight, if that makes sense.
That's complete sense. The constriction is physical.
Exactly. And there were all these major life and career decisions stacking up on my desk, literally and metaphorically. And I remember waking up on a Saturday morning, which, by the way, was supposed to be my day off, with this intense burning acidity in my stomach, just this absolute, undeniable urgency.
What was the internal narrative in that exact moment? Like, what was the voice actually saying?
Oh, the voice was looping just on repeat. It was saying, I just need to fix this. I need to get on top of this immediately. If I can just organize everything perfectly this weekend, if I can just clear the entire board, then next week will be easy. I can finally breathe on Monday.
Oh, man. There it is, the ultimate trap of the fix-it weekend.
The worst trap.
It's this belief that you can cram all of your suffering into a 48-hour window to somehow purchase future peace.
And my body was fully bought into the lie. I went into absolute overdrive. I can still feel the physical sensation if I think about it. My jaw was locked so tight, my teeth hurt.
That sympathetic nervous system response.
Fully activated. My shoulders were basically glued to my earlobes.
Yeah.
My breathing was incredibly shallow, just trapped in the top inch of my chest. So I pulled out my laptop, my physical planner, and like 3 different notepads.
Preparing for battle.
I really was. I started trying to reorganize my calendar for the next 6 months, but then I realized my desk was messy, so I started deep cleaning the house because the visual clutter was exacerbating the mental clutter.
Oh no, the pivot to cleaning. It happens every time.
Every single time I was physically running between the kitchen, where I was frantically scrubbing the sink, and the living room, where I was trying to map out a new financial strategy on a whiteboard.
You were the pre-Ford factory worker, running around the chassis.
Entirely. I was pushing so hard, fueled 100% by the sheer panic and urgency of wanting the discomfort of my life to end. I just wanted the pressure gone. But what do you think happened?
It got worse, didn't it?
So much worse. The harder I worked, the more things I realized I was behind on. I wasn't actually solving anything. I was just unearthing more complex
Because
problems.
you were looking for them.
Right. By Saturday night, I hadn't eaten a real meal. My head was pounding, and the house was actually messier because I had pulled everything out of the closets to organize them and then just abandoned them halfway.
Classic.
And my calendar was just a chaotic, color-coded mess of highlighted anxiety. I felt completely overwhelmingly paralyzed. I had tried to force ease, and I had built a pressure cooker instead.
Because you cannot use a chaotic, dysregulated frequency to build a regulated, peaceful outcome.
You just can't.
It defies the laws of physics and biology. You were using the energy of panic to try and create the experience of peace. Those two states cannot coexist in the nervous system at the same time.
They really can't. And the breakthrough, the moment things actually shifted, for me, it didn't come from finally finding the perfect scheduling app or pushing through until 3 a.m.
Thank goodness.
It came from hitting a wall of total exhaustion and completely surrendering. I physically collapsed onto my couch. I just sat there staring blankly at the wall. I forced myself to take one slow, deliberate breath.
Breaking the cycle.
I stopped trying to fix my life. I looked at the massive pile of chaotic notes, and I asked myself a completely different question. I asked, what is just one thing? What is one single aligned action I can take right now that will actually move the needle and provide relief?
Just one clean move, no grand strategy, no 6-month plan, just the immediate next step.
Exactly. I realized I just needed to pay one specific bill that had been gnawing at the back of my mind all week. That was the core constraint. So I logged in, paid the bill, and closed the laptop.
And that was it.
That was it. I didn't finish organizing the closet. I didn't map out the 6-month plan. I just handled one thing. And the physical response was instantaneous. A massive rush of space and clarity returned to my body. The urgency just evaporated.
That is incredible.
The best way I can describe the mechanics of what happened is through the analogy of being caught in a riptide.
Ooh, let's unpack the physics of that analogy.
Whoa.
Because it perfectly illustrates the counterintuitive nature of survival.
If you look at the fluid dynamics of a riptide, it is a narrow, powerful channel of water moving swiftly away from the shore back out to sea. When a human being gets caught in one, their immediate primal instinct, driven by pure, unadulterated survival panic, is to turn around and swim as hard as they can directly against the current, straight toward the safety of the beach.
Right, because the brain sees the beach. It knows the beach is safe, so it demands that you move in a straight line toward it, regardless of the resistance.
Right. But if you fight a riptide, you will lose. The ocean is exponentially stronger than you are. You will expend all your energy, your muscles will fill with lactic acid, you will exhaust yourself, and you will drown from the sheer biological effort of fighting the resistance.
Which is a terrifying thought, but biologically accurate.
It is. The only way to survive a riptide, the actual technique taught by lifeguards worldwide, is to stop fighting the pull. You have to swim parallel to the shore.
Yes.
You let the current take you out slightly while you gently move to the side, slipping out of the narrow band of the riptide and into the calmer water where the waves will naturally carry you back in.
But internally, in that moment of panic, swimming parallel feels like a profound betrayal of your own survival.
It feels wrong.
Your brain is screaming, why are we swimming sideways? The beach is right there. We are moving away from the goal. It feels entirely counterintuitive to a dysregulated brain.
Completely. It feels too slow. It feels like giving up. But it is the only mechanical action that actually saves your life. When I was frantically trying to fix my life that Saturday, tearing my house apart, I was swimming directly against a massive riptide. I was exhausting myself, trying to force my way back to the beach of ease.
And the bill.
Doing that one small thing, paying that one bill and resting, was me swimming parallel. I stopped fighting the massive current of my life's complexity, and I just made one lateral, aligned move. I stepped out of the resistance, and it saved me.
That is a phenomenal breakdown of the mechanics. And I think it brings us right to the core teaching of this deep dive. We need to clearly define the ease paradox. Because there are two very distinct, fundamentally different types of ease that we try to operate from.
Let's map them out.
Confusing them is what causes 90% of our modern suffering. But first, we have what we call forced ease. This is the Riptide swimming.
The thrashing.
Yes. Forced ease is deeply rooted in avoidance. It looks like over-control. It looks like rushing, constantly trying to fast-forward your life to get to the easy part. It is treating the present moment as an obstacle to be overcome.
Like, let me just get this out of the way.
Exactly. It's that feeling of, if I can just get through this brutal week, then I can relax. Or if I can just hit this specific income goal, then my nervous system will finally feel secure.
It's a deferral of life. You are literally holding your breath until conditions are perfect. And the internal monologue of forced ease always sounds frantic. It is entirely driven by urgency, muscular tension, and immense mental overload.
And here's the profound insight, the mechanical truth you have to internalize. Forced ease is actually resistance in disguise.
Say that again?
Forced ease is resistance in disguise. You're resisting the reality of your present moment, and you are burning enormous amounts of metabolic energy to fight that reality.
That hits hard.
Contrast that forced ease with the second type, aligned ease. Aligned ease is what you experience when you finally swam parallel to the shore. It is what Henry Ford created when he let the chassis move to the worker.
So it's systemic.
Right. Aligned ease involves clear direction. It involves focused, singular action, and most importantly, it involves deep trust in the process. Instead of, I need to fix everything right now, aligned ease sounds like, I can handle this one thing in front of me.
It's grounded.
It feels steady. It
Yeah.
feels capable. You aren't avoiding the work. You are engaging with it from a place of physical and emotional stability.
But wait, let me push back here. Let me play the skeptic again, because I know someone listening is thinking this exact thing.
Okay, what are they thinking?
If I just decide to stop forcing things, if I just, trust the process and adopt this aligned ease, my taxes literally won't get done.
Right.
My business will fail. My kids won't get to school on time. How is aligned ease not just a beautifully spiritual excuse for procrastination or dereliction of duty?
That is the most important pushback to address, because it highlights the fundamental misunderstanding of what ease actually is. And this brings us to the golden rule of this deep dive.
Let's hear it.
Ease is not the absence of effort. Let me repeat that, because it is so crucial. Ease is not the absence of effort. It is the absence of resistance inside the effort.
Okay, break that distinction down mechanically for us. Effort versus resistance.
People think finding ease means lying on a beach doing absolutely nothing for the rest of their lives, but human biology and psychology don't support that. We're built to create, to move, to solve complex puzzles, to build communities.
We need to be engaged.
Exactly. True ease is engaged effort without internal friction. Think of a master carpenter planing a piece of wood. They are expending physical effort. They are sweating. They are working hard.
But it's smooth.
But they are moving with the grain of the wood, not against it. Their tools are sharp. Their movements are precise. There's no frantic, panicked hacking at the wood. You still have to do your taxes. You still have to run your business. But you don't have to fight yourself while you do it.
You don't have to flood your body with cortisol just to send an email. I love that carpenter analogy, moving with the grain instead of hacking at it. And to connect this to the broader architecture of what we've been building, if you recall the work we did back in episode 114 on stabilizing your identity, this is the exact natural evolution of that.
It is the next step.
In that deep dive, we worked on anchoring yourself internally so you stop reacting to external chaos. Now we are looking at how to physically and energetically move through your life with less friction. You are learning to let the system carry the weight.
To really cement this, we need to bridge the gap between these philosophical concepts and the hard science of your physical body. Because this isn't just a lovely idea about, good vibes. We are talking about the hardwired biology of your nervous system.
Yes, let's look at the neuroscience of stress and how it literally dictates whether you are trapped in forced ease or flowing in aligned ease.
This is my absolute favorite part.
Because understanding the biological mechanics removes the shame. When you understand your hardware, you stop judging your software for glitching. Let's draw on the incredible research by neuroendocrinologist Robert Sapolsky on how stress physically alters our biology.
His work is foundational.
It really is.
Yeah.
When your nervous system registers a threat into your primal brain, there is absolutely no difference between a literal tiger chasing you across the savannah and a massive pile of unread emails from your boss. It initiates a very specific chemical cascade.
The alarm bells ring.
Right. The amygdala sounds the alarm, the hypothalamus signals the pituitary gland, and your adrenal glands flood your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline.
Your sympathetic nervous system completely hijacks the wheel. It is an absolute biological override.
Precisely. And what happens cognitively when that chemical cocktail hits your brain? Your cognition physically and functionally narrows. To conserve glucose for your major muscle groups so you can run from the tiger, your body actually downregulates the prefrontal cortex.
The thinking part of the brain.
The part of your brain responsible for complex problem solving, nuance, and long-term planning goes dark. Your peripheral vision literally drops. The brain frantically starts scanning the immediate environment, asking only two questions: where's the threat? And what is the absolute fastest way out of this pain?
Which is brilliant if you are actually being hunted.
Yeah.
You do not want your prefrontal cortex contemplating the beautiful sunset or weighing the ethical nuances of the food chain when a predator is lunging at you. You need tunnel vision. You need immediate reactive speed.
Pause.
But when you apply that primitive tunnel vision to modern complex life, to your career strategy, your marriage, your creative projects, it becomes incredibly destructive.
Right, because from that state of biological threat, you are fundamentally incapable of making good long-term decisions. You overcommit because your brain just wants to appease the immediate perceived threat. You try to fix highly nuanced life problems with brute force.
It's reactionary.
This maps perfectly onto Daniel Kahneman's brilliant framework of fast versus slow thinking. When we are stressed, System 1, the fast, reactive, instinctual, unnuanced brain, takes over completely because it is metabolically cheap.
It doesn't take much energy to panic.
Exactly. System 2, the deliberate, logical, calculating brain, is metabolically expensive, so it gets shut down. Fast thinking is terrible at creating sustainable ease. It only knows how to build pressure cookers.
But the reciprocal is also biologically true, and this is where the hope lies. Let's look at what happens when you intentionally regulate your nervous system. When your body feels safe, when it receives tangible biological cues that there is no tiger, the parasympathetic nervous system engages.
The rest and digest system.
Right. And if we look at Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory, we see the profound mechanism of the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve acts as a biological brake pedal. When it is activated through deep breathing or a feeling of safety, it sends afferent signals from your heart and gut back up to your brain, literally telling the amygdala to stand down.
And when the amygdala stands down, the prefrontal cortex comes back online. The cognitive aperture opens back up.
Exactly. And the result is astonishing. Prioritization suddenly becomes obvious. You don't have to force yourself to figure out what's important. The clear path naturally floats to the top of your awareness. The cognitive load drops massively.
That's where flow happens.
Yes. This physiological state of safety is exactly where Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's concept of the flow state lives. Flow is not a mystical accident. It is the biological reality of engaged effort without internal friction. It is the absolute embodiment of aligned ease. You are working hard, but your biology is supporting the action instead of fighting it.
I want to bridge this hard science directly into the esoteric spiritual concepts we often discuss because they are pointing at the exact same truth. If you look at the manifestation framework of allowing versus resistance, beautifully articulated by teachers like Abraham Hicks, it is describing this precise physiological phenomenon.
Such a good connection.
The spiritual teaching states that resistance blocks your manifestation and allowing lets it flow into your reality, translated into biology. A dysregulated sympathetic nervous system creates physical friction that blocked your ability to perceive and act on opportunities, while a regulated parasympathetic system creates flow.
It's all the same mechanism.
Ease isn't an external circumstance you finally achieve after enough suffering. It is a biological state you cultivate. When your system is regulated, you literally make your life easier because your actions become clean, precise, and devoid of panicked friction.
So we have built the foundation. We understand the historical paradox of the factory, we understand the physics of the riptide, and we understand the biological mechanics of the nervous system.
We have the theory.
But simply understanding the theory of a regulated nervous system does not actually regulate it. Knowledge without application is just trivia. So we're going to shift the dynamic right now. We're going to step fully into the interactive workshop portion of this deep dive.
And I want to challenge you, the listener, to stop treating this as just another piece of audio content you're passively consuming while doing the dishes or driving. Obviously, keep driving safely, but let this be an active, participatory experience.
We want you with us.
We are going to move through some highly specific mechanical tools right now to help you physically transition from forced ease to aligned ease in real time.
The first tool we are going to implement is what we call the one clean move practice. This draws heavily on principles from the theory of constraints in systems engineering, combined with the psychological brilliance of B.J. Fogg's work on microhabits.
It's a powerful combo.
Let's set the stage. Right now, I want you to take a very soft, natural breath. Do not force a massive, performative meditation breath. Just notice the air crossing the threshold of your nose and notice it leaving.
Let your shoulders drop just a single millimeter. Unclench your jaw. Just create a tiny margin of physical slack.
Perfect. Now, I want you to bring to mind one specific area of your life right now that feels undeniably heavy. One area that feels tangled, stressful, or overwhelming.
Just pick one.
It could be a scald work project, a terrifying financial situation, a chaotic living space, or a relationship dynamic that is draining your energy. Just let one specific thing surface to the front of your mind.
Now, observe your own machinery. Watch what your mind immediately tries to do with that problem. Your mind likely instantly wants to solve the entire complex equation. It wants to draft a 10-step master plan to fix it forever so you never have to feel this discomfort again.
Notice that urge. Notice the heat and urgency in it.
And now I want you to intentionally, consciously discard that desire. Drop it. We are not solving the whole problem today.
Instead, I want you to ask yourself one highly specific, constrained question. What is the one action that would create the most relief right now? Notice the wording, not the most progress, not the final ultimate solution, the most relief.
What is the one clean move?
It might be incredibly, almost laughably small. It might be sending one single, two-sentence text message to clear the air with a friend.
Yeah.
It might be taking the 3 dirty coffee cups off your desk and simply placing them in the sink.
Or just paying that one bill.
Exactly. It might be canceling one arbitrary meeting from your calendar that you don't actually need to attend. It might be opening the mail and just paying that one overdue bill.
Here is where the analytical mind rebels, so pay attention to this. If your mind immediately chimes in and aggressively says, well, that's entirely too small, putting 3 cups in the sink doesn't clean the whole house, sending one email doesn't clear the inbox of 500, I want you to realize that you are on the exact right track.
Yes, that resistance is proof it's working.
Your dysregulated ego, trapped in System 1 thinking, wants a massive, heroic, exhausting action to justify its panic. Your regulated intuition wants a small, clean move because completion creates biological momentum.
That dopamine hit.
When you complete a task, your brain gets a hit of dopamine, which physically downregulates the stress response. Momentum creates ease. Let one clean step be enough to break the paralysis.
Just visualize yourself making that one clean move right now. See yourself typing the text. See yourself carrying the cups to the sink. Notice how your body responds when you imagine executing just that one beautifully contained thing without the crushing burden of having to do the next 20 things.
There's a softening.
There is a palpable softening, isn't there? That somatic softening is the genesis of aligned ease.
And now, we are going to layer a second mechanical tool directly on top of this. This is tool 2. Slow your pace by 10%.
I love this one.
This is a micro practice, a literal physical intervention that you can deploy all day long. Right now, wherever you are, whatever physical action you are currently engaged in, I want you to literally slow your physical pace by exactly 10%.
If you are walking down the street right now, shorten your stride slightly and walk a tiny bit slower. If you are washing a dish, slow the circular motion of your hand by 10%.
Even if you're just sitting.
Right. If you are just sitting and breathing, elongate the exhale by a fraction of a second.
But here is where it gets difficult. When you deliberately slow down, I want you to pay close attention to the fierce resistance that flares up internally, because your conditioned mind will likely scream at you.
It will hate it.
It will say, we absolutely do not have time for this. We are already behind. We're going too slow. We need to hurry. That is the sympathetic nervous system throwing a biological tantrum because it genuinely believes the tiger is going to catch you if you don't rush.
But underneath that screaming urgency, if you possess the discipline to just hold that 10% slower pace and not give in to the panic, something magical happens. Clarity bubbles up to the surface.
Blur goes away.
When you are rushing, everything is a chaotic blur. Your brain cannot process nuance at high speed. When you slow down by just 10%, the blur comes into sharp focus. You start to easily distinguish between what is actually required and what is just performative busy work. Accurate action creates ease, and you cannot be accurate when you are operating as a blur.
Let's challenge the productivity math on this, because I know the objection. People think, If I slow down by 10%, I get 10% less done. I can't afford that.
But then that doesn't work that way.
It really doesn't. The reality of the mechanics is entirely different. When you slow down by 10%, you don't get 10% less done. You make 50% fewer mistakes.
Exactly.
You stop sending emails that require 3 follow-up emails to clarify your typos and rush tone. You stop breaking things that you later have to spend hours fixing. You stop creating collateral damage.
Let's integrate these two tools together. Imagine approaching the architecture of your entire day this way. Instead of waking up and asking the panicked, overwhelming question, how do I survive this day and fix everything? What if you approached the day asking, what is the next clean step?
That changes everything.
And whatever that step is, you execute it with a 10% slower pace. You sit down to write the difficult email, but you type it 10% slower. You sit down to have the hard conversation with your partner, but you speak 10% slower. You will find that you actually accomplish significantly more because you aren't fighting the friction of your own panic.
That integration is how you rewrite the fundamental blueprint of your daily reality.
Yeah.
It's a profound mechanical shift. And to solidify this, to make sure it actually sticks in your hardware, we are going to move into what we call manifestation debug mode.
This is where we go under the hood. Let's clear the static and tune the frequency. We are going to methodically debug the internal programming that keeps pulling you back into the riptide of forced ease. We have 5 sequential steps to this process. Let's execute them together.
Step 1 is to identify the old code. I want you to bring that heavy situation back to your mind. The messy house, the terrifying finances, the stalled project. What is the foundational underlying belief you have about how you're supposed to handle it?
Be honest with yourself.
If you are brutally honest with yourself, if you look at the source code of your default operating system, the old code is almost always some variation of, I need to push harder to make this easier.
Or, I have to suffer intensely right now to earn the right to peace later. Or, if I don't micromanage and control every single detail, the entire system will collapse.
Yes, those are all variations of the exact same virus. I need to push harder to make this easier. So that is step 1. We have isolated the corrupted code. Step 2 is to check it in the body. We need to do some somatic mapping.
Tuning into the physical.
I want you to say that belief internally right now. Say to yourself, I need to push harder to make this easier. And as you say it, aggressively scan your physical body.
What is happening in the center of your chest? Does it feel expansive and open or tight and constricted? What is happening in your jaw? What about the pit of your stomach? Usually when you activate that old code, you will feel an immediate, undeniable tightening.
A clenching.
A clenching. Your breath becomes shallow and trapped in your throat.
And this is the most crucial mechanical realization of this entire process. That physical tightness is the resistance. The very strategy you are using to try and bring relief to your life is biologically creating pressure in your physical vessel. Your body is telling you right now, in real time, that this belief is a lie. Your hardware is rejecting the software.
Which brings us to step 3, separate intention. We need to look at this old belief not with anger, but with deep compassion.
It's just trying to help.
Exactly. The part of your psyche that believes you need to push harder isn't a villain trying to ruin your life. It is a protective mechanism desperately trying to keep you safe. It learned somewhere along the way that hypervigilance was the only way to survive chaos. We have to validate that protective intention.
I used to think of it as a guard dog, but honestly, that's an overused cliche. It's more mechanical than that. It is like having an ultra-sensitive smoke detector in your kitchen.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
The smoke detector's intention is pure. It is designed to save your life and keep the house from burning down.
Yeah.
But right now, it is so overly sensitive that it's shutting down the power to the entire house just because you are boiling pasta.
Right.
It cannot tell the difference between a roaring fire and a little bit of steam. So we acknowledge the old belief. We say, thank you for the alert. I know you were trying to keep me safe. But we also recognize that the calibration is completely wrong. We don't need to shut down the house for boiling water.
So we introduce step 4, the reframe. We're going to offer your nervous system a new, aligned code, a software update. I want you to listen to this phrase and just let it wash over your somatic awareness. Don't fight it with logic, just receive it. Pressure creates resistance. Clarity creates ease. I allow ease to come from alignment, not force.
Let's install that one more time, and I want you to actively monitor your body as you hear it. Pressure creates resistance. Clarity creates ease. I allow ease to come from alignment, not force.
Notice the shift in your physical data when you hear that new code. Does the jaw drop slightly? Does the chest uncoil just a little bit? Does a deeper diaphragmatic breath naturally want to happen without you forcing it?
You can feel the softening.
That softening is your nervous system recognizing a deeper truth. Your body fundamentally knows that alignment is infinitely more powerful and sustainable than brute force.
And finally, step 5, anchor in action. We cannot just leave this in the realm of theory. We have to ground this new frequency into the physical world through mechanics. So from this newly softened open state, from this place of biological clarity rather than chemical pressure, I want you to look at that heavy situation one more time.
Ask the question again.
Right, from this regulated state, ask the question again, what would I do next?
Notice how the answer feels entirely different now. It is no longer wrapped in a frantic, urgent panic. It is much more obvious. It is much more doable.
It's clean.
It might be the exact same physical action, sending the email, washing the dishes, making the phone call, but the internal energy driving it has fundamentally changed. You have moved from a frequency of desperation to a frequency of quiet certainty, and that changes the entire trajectory of the outcome.
It changes the ripple effect of the action entirely. Think about it mechanically. An email typed from a state of panicked urgency usually contains frantic language, which triggers a panicked defensive response from the recipient, creating a cascade of more work.
An endless loop.
But an email typed from a state of aligned clarity is concise, grounded, and creates a clear, easy resolution. You are literally shifting the entire architecture of your reality just by shifting your internal biological state before you initiate the action.
Now that we have cleared that static and installed the new code, we want to give you some doorway questions to continue this exploration throughout the week. These are reflection prompts.
Take these with you.
We strongly encourage you to take these into your journaling practice or just mull them over while you are practicing your 10% slower walk.
And as always, these prompts will be written out for you in the Vibe this week, so don't worry about pulling over to memorize them, but let them start percolating in your subconscious now.
Okay, question 1. Where in my life am I forcing ease? Look for the places where you are deeply exhausted by your own complex systems and routines.
Question 2, what am I overcomplicating right now? Where are you building a massive, intricate machine to do a simple job?
Question 3, what would simplicity look like here? If you stripped away all the ego, all the need to prove yourself, and all the performative effort, what is the most direct, simple path?
Question 4, what is one single thing I can make easier today? Just one thing.
Those questions are profound keys for unlocking the constraints in your life. And to help anchor all of this deep cellular learning we've done today, we're going to move into a guided visualization. We call this journey the uncluttered path.
Settle in for this.
So, wherever you are, if it is safe to do so, meaning you are not driving or operating heavy machinery, I invite you to gently lower your gaze or close your eyes. Let your hands rest easily in your lap.
Just take a moment to be exactly where you are. Feel the physical gravity holding your body. You don't have to expend any effort to stay tethered to the earth. The physics of the planet are just holding you securely. Take a slow, gentle breath in and let it go.
I want you to imagine, in your mind's eye, that you are standing at the very beginning of a path. This path winds forward, stretching far out into the distance, disappearing over the horizon. Take a moment to really sense the environment around you.
What does the ground feel like?
Notice the texture of the ground beneath your feet. Is it a soft dirt trail through a quiet, dense forest? Is it a smooth, worn stone walkway in an ancient city? Can you feel the firmness of the earth supporting your weight? You are grounded here. You are biologically safe.
Now gently lift your gaze and look down the path ahead of you. As you look, you realize that the path is incredibly, overwhelmingly crowded. It is cluttered with thousands of objects.
There are massive piles of boxes.
Powering stacks of papers, tangled cords, random heavy objects strewn everywhere. These objects are the physical manifestation of everything you have been carrying. They represent the unfinished tasks, the looming deadlines, the crushing expectations of others, the financial worries, the complex relationship dynamics.
You do not need to analyze each object. You don't need to read the labels on the boxes. You just feel the sheer staggering volume of them. And as you stand there, looking at miles of this massive clutter, notice the feeling that begins to rise in your body.
That familiar buzz.
It is a familiar, vibrating hum. It is the hum of System 1 urgency. It is that old, corrupted code saying, I have to clear all of this right now. I have to move every single box before I can take a step and feel peace. I have to fix the entire path today. Feel the overwhelming weight of that demand. Feel the riptide pulling at you, demanding you fight it.
I love this visualization because this is exactly where the paralysis sets in. But right now, in this space, you remember the new code, you remember the mechanics. You do not have to fight the ocean.
You don't have to clear the whole path.
Instead of rushing forward, instead of throwing yourself into the massive pile of clutter and exhausting your adrenaline, you take a breath. You stop.
You intentionally bring your attention away from the distant horizon. You pull your focus away from the miles of clutter, and you pull it all the way back. You retract your vision until you are looking only at the 2 square feet of space directly in front of your toes. You narrow your world to just this one small, immediate, manageable space.
There is one object sitting right in front of you, a single piece of clutter. You do not ask how you are going to clear the rest of the path. You simply reach out with a calm 10% slower pace, and you pick up that one object. You lift it, and you gently place it off to the side of the path, into the soft grass. One clean move.
Notice what happens the moment you execute that one move. A space opens up. It is just a small patch of clear ground, but it is entirely flawlessly clear. Notice the profound sense of physical relief that washes over your body. You didn't solve the whole path, but you created one patch of harmony. You step forward onto that clear ground. Your footing is solid.
You look at the very next patch of ground. There's another object. With that exact same steady, unhurried, aligned energy, you reach down, pick it up, and move it to the side. You take another step.
You continue this rhythm. You are not running. You are not panicked. You are simply looking at the very next step. Making one clean move to clear it and stepping forward. Reach, move, step, breathe. Reach, move, step, breathe.
As you move in this steady mechanical rhythm, the body lightens, the chest expands, the jaw remains relaxed. And as you walk, a profound realization settles deeply into your bones. It echoes in your mind. The path was never meant to be cleared all at once. It was always meant to be walked one clear step at a time.
Let that truth radiate through your nervous system. You cannot clear the future. You can only clear the present moment. The path was never meant to be cleared all at once. It was always meant to be walked, one clear step at a time.
Take a deep, nourishing breath in, pulling that clarity into your lungs. And exhale, releasing any lingering need to force your life into submission. When you are ready, gently bring your awareness back to the room you are physically in. Wiggle your fingers and toes and let your eyes flutter open.
Welcome back. Just take a second to notice the quality of your energy right now compared to when we first started talking. There is a profound settling that happens when we stop demanding the biologically impossible from ourselves.
Let's walk back through the massive amount of ground we covered today because we mapped out a complete paradigm shift. We started by validating that overwhelming universal desire for ease, and we acknowledged the sheer burnout of trying to aggressively optimize every second of our lives to achieve it.
We move through the history and logic of the Ford assembly line, understanding that true ease isn't about working harder or pushing faster, but about designing a system that removes friction.
The Riptide.
You saw how the riptide of your own panic pulls you under, and how swimming parallel, choosing the lateral aligned action, is the only way to survive the current.
We dove deep into the biology of your hardware. We mapped how stress and cortisol create a narrow reactive urgency through System 1 thinking, while vagal regulation expands your cognition, brings the prefrontal cortex back online, and allows for that beautiful frictionless state of flow. We realize, mechanistically, that forced ease is just resistance wearing a mask.
Then we put the theory into practice. We replaced the old, exhausted code of push harder with the elegant, constrained simplicity of the one clean move.
And slowed down.
We learned to intentionally slow our pace by 10% to let clarity catch up with our actions. We debugged the somatic resistance in our bodies using the smoke detector analogy, and we walked the uncluttered path, realizing we only ever have to clear the 2 square feet directly in front of us.
Which brings us to our core soundbite, the single mechanical truth we want ringing in your ears this week. Ease doesn't come from doing less. It comes from doing what actually matters without resistance.
That is the absolute truth of it. And so your action step for this week is very simple. We want you to choose just one area of your life that feels heavy right now. Look at it, take a slow breath, ask yourself what the absolute simplest version of it is, and then take one clean, aligned step. Just one. And let that be enough for today.
But here is where we leave you with a highly provocative thought to chew on until our next deep dive. Because something very strange and honestly quite jarring happens when you start practicing this consistently.
Oh, it really does.
Once you stop forcing things, once the resistance drops and your life actually does start to feel easier and more expansive, a brand new, highly unexpected problem emerges.
It catches everyone off guard.
You would logically think that once things get easier and you start receiving more money, more incredible career opportunities, more expansion, more deep connection, that you would just float away on a cloud of uninterrupted bliss.
But why does getting more suddenly trigger a brand new, almost paralyzing kind of stress?
It's a real shock to the system. Why does having extra money in the bank suddenly make your nervous system panic in a totally different way?
That is the ultimate paradox of expansion. And that is exactly what we are unpacking in our next deep dive. We will be exploring money, frequency, and nervous system safety, diving deep into how receiving more is not about your worthiness, and it's certainly not about your business strategy.
It's biological.
It is entirely about what your physical nervous system is actually biologically available to hold. If you expand your life faster than your nervous system feels safe, you will unconsciously sabotage it just to get back to familiar discomfort. It's a fascinating, deeply mechanical layer to explore.
I cannot wait to tear into that conversation. In the meantime, we invite you to visit our YouTube channel. We have a whole library of explainer videos that break down these biological and systemic concepts visually, as well as our sleep alignment guides, which are incredible for passively regulating your vagus nerve while you rest.
Highly recommend those.
And of course, make sure you are subscribed to the weekly Vibe Letter to get those reflection prompts delivered straight to your inbox.
Thank you so much for walking this path with us today. Remember that whatever liminal space you are currently in, whatever agonizing in-between phase you are navigating, you do not have to force the resolution. You are exactly where you are meant to be. We hope you'll join us again soon.
And the next time you feel that familiar burning panic rising in your chest, the next time you feel the overwhelming urge to fix your entire life all at once, just remember the physics of the riptide. Stop fighting the current, look parallel to the shore, find your one clean move, and just swim.